Okay, so let's be tech savvy and try and take a question from online. I think Jeff has one in the back.
Yeah, so the first question from our online audience comes from Twitter, from LiveStrong for Life. And the question is, what specific action is LiveStrong taking to diffuse competition between and unite various cancer-fighting nonprofits? And can you point to results?
First, let's just highlight that I think this question came from somebody who's using a fake name online, obviously.
Anonymous.
Steve, is this your question? Okay. You can't hide. You can't hide here. You have nothing to be to hide about.
Can I ask a question and that might exemplify this?
Yeah.
So, everyone who is in the audience that works for another cancer organization, could you stand up? I don't think that you would be here if we were in the game of competing with other cancer organizations. So, and again, I think that that should be a demonstration that much of what we do is in partnership and leveraging our resources, helping you leverage your resources. So hopefully together we're stronger as a whole than we would be if we were trying to tackle these issues all by ourselves. One of the examples that I'll make, and I'll point to one group that's in the audience that I know is the cancer support community. It's an amazing organization that really is invested in delivering evidence-based approaches to helping people deal with a cancer diagnosis. We have been longstanding partners in co-creating interventions, most specifically the Cancer Transitions Program, which now we are jointly disseminating to other organizations all across the country. We could not have done that by ourselves. So we don't have the expertise, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the ability, but we had the desire to do it, and we had the foresight to seek out the right partner to help us to do it. So we don't approach this as a competitive game. The thing we're fighting against is cancer. It's not one another.
Yeah, I think that's totally accurate, and I don't know if you want to add something.
I was just going to add, even when we made the decision back in 2009 to go global, one of the constant themes and internal discussion that we had was our objective was never to go in and
Right.
put a flag in the ground for LiveStrong. It was always to shine a light on other good work that was being done and how could we help elevate that. So that continues to be our approach.
Yep.
Yeah, when we announced the global work, I mean, you could almost hear it already around the world. Uh-oh. Another Western organization is going to come into our place, and they're going to take resources out of our community that are much needed. And so the first thing we had to do when we went to different places was say, no, we're not here to raise money. We're not here to compete. And I think that's really the key. I mean, I am a firm believer that if you provide great service and great programs, you don't have to worry as much about the fundraising and sort of getting caught up in that sort of competitive landscape. And again, another reason, Jerry, to your question, that we're not going out to compete. We're not opening offices in different cities and competing for funds and things like that. That's just not who we are or what we want to be about. Next question, Joni.
Hi. My name is Joni Watson. I'm a nurse, and I'm also the director of the Nurse Oncology Education Program. We provide cancer education to nurses in all fields of practice because we believe that every nurse can fight cancer. Speaking of your global work, I had the opportunity to attend the LiveStrong Global Cancer Summit in Ireland, and NOEP's commitment was to engage nurses in global cancer conversations. And I was just wondering if you could give us an update of your global work since the Cancer Summit. Andy?
Yeah, sure, I'll start. It's been an evolving process, just like everything else, and it was just the tip of the iceberg. What we learned is there are huge opportunities and there are huge needs, but we also, based on who we are as an organization, also try to take advantage of those opportunities that are unique points in time. And one of the things that we've learned is there is a lot of activity and a lot of interest around elevating the role of non-communicable diseases on the global health agenda in the coming months. So we want to be at the forefront of that and make sure that cancer And what we can do, what we know about cancer and what we know can be done is part of that conversation. So much of the work that was done at the LiveStrong Summit actually is helping us to build that case. There was one commitment that was made, and it was to establish this global task force to expand cancer control in developing countries. We're really leveraging the work of that task force to aggregate the stories of how cancer care, effective cancer care, is being delivered in developing world settings, in places like Haiti and Rwanda and Malawi, and how do we show that through strategic partnerships, with some of which are with US-based entities like Dana-Farber, and organizations like Partners in Health, they can actually deliver high-quality cancer care in these developing world settings. Whereas right now, the prevalent belief amongst global health organizations is cancer is a disease of the developed world. Developing countries don't need to be concerned about that. They should only focus on cancer prevention. Absolutely, prevention should be a priority, especially tobacco control. But it is not acceptable to say nothing should be done, because we know that people are diagnosed with cancer. The developing world bears the highest burden of cancer when compared to the developed world, and there are things that we know how to do. And to choose not to do them is not acceptable. So we're working to build the case in preparation of a high-level meeting that the United Nations is going to hold in order to examine this issue of non-communicable diseases on the global health agenda. Only once before has this been done in regards to a health issue, and it was the issue that really put HIV/AIDS on the map in regards to greater global investments into a fund to address the disease. So we think it's a unique point in time, and we want to be right there to say, we know what can and should be done with cancer, and it needs to be part of the conversation. It's just kind of one example, but there's a number of others, some of which Doug talked about in terms of our anti-stigma work and the work that we're doing to empower patients on the ground in different countries. But we think that after that, there's going to be other opportunities, and we want to be positioned to take advantage of those.
From an engagement standpoint, I would just circle back to a comment that Doug made in the opening remarks. If you just look at Livestrong Day from 2010, events in over 65 countries around the world, that was really a significant milestone for us, and we really feel like a lot of that was due to the work that was done for the Global Summit and kind of some of those partnerships that were laid. And again, it's not about having organizations or affiliates in countries around the world, but really having partnerships that then we can go to them to kind of activate and mobilize around key things like Livestrong Day for general awareness raising. Yeah,
and I would just add that Andy mentioned this high-level meeting. So the United Nations has only had a finite number of these in their history, and I actually just heard today that coming out of the meetings in Davos, that Ban Ki-moon has talked more publicly about non-communicable disease and why this meeting in September of 2011 in New York is so important. And one of the reasons why these partnerships on the ground in these other countries are critical is that as we start to learn about which countries are coming to that meeting with significant commitments and with a desire to really help, and which countries are not, we can go to those partners and say, look, we really need some grassroots support in your country to make sure your leaders understand that this is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I mean, we could sit in a room like this in 10 years and say, you know what, you remember in 2011 in September when all these world leaders came together and they invested billions of dollars in the developing world to make sure that people don't suffer and die from cancer. And I think we would all collectively be extremely proud of that. Okay, so I must say, Scott, you get the next one, but I already said to Scott earlier, I said, gosh, it's cold here. And he came from New Hampshire, and he almost knocked me out. And he said, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So thank you for coming all the way down.
So yes, I'm Scott Joy, and I did come from New Hampshire, and I apologize if I brought a little of the snow with me. I hear we're going to have some, so sorry about that. When I found the Lance Armstrong Foundation, I knew instantly that I'd found something special, and I couldn't leave the website when I did find it until I had signed up for the Ride for the Roses. And from the Ride for the Roses, I've become involved with the Livestrong Leaders Program, and am here also as a Team Livestrong mentor. And I just have to say thank you while I'm up here for for all that you do. Globally, you're changing the world, and you're bringing us with you. And personally, you've changed my life. So thank you for that. And so my question...
Wow. Thank you. How many years ago was that?
Sorry?
How many years ago did you get involved?
8.
8 years.
8, yeah. I'm an 8-year testicular cancer survivor this June. So
Congratulations.
could have wallowed in that for a while, but finding the foundation flipped the switch and gave me something better to focus on. So it's a good world.
We're grateful.
So my question is, I think things have changed a bit since 8 years ago when I got involved. And when people ask you today, how can I get involved, what would you encourage them to do?
I'm happy to start with that one. That's a great question, and I echo Doug. Thank you so much for all that you do. When we think about kind of get action or take action superstars, Scott Joy is definitely one of the superstars. So it's just really interesting when Doug mentioned kind of our two-pronged approach, which is direct service and also providing people a way to take action and a platform to do that in a way that's comfortable for them and kind of feels specific to their interest level. And so we obviously have a number of different ways that people can get involved, kind of tailored to your interest, but I will tell you that the first step generally is to give people a way to share their story. And you've heard that come up in a number of different ways today, but that remains kind of at the core essence of what we do from a way to get people involved initially. So sharing your story and then telling others about it and recruiting people to the LiveStrong mission. That's obviously the first and easiest way. And then from there, there's all sorts of activities, as you've mentioned, whether you're interested in fundraising or awareness building in your community, bringing resources to cancer centers and hospitals in your community. It may be a true advocacy, signing a petition or going to meet with an elected official. So it kind of runs that whole spectrum of activity, and we try to just be very open about that and serve up different ways that people can get involved. I think the other thing that I would add is that I like to just challenge people to think of it from the perspective of that what we want to do is strengthen the community over time and grow the community. So if you think about every time you take an action, and everybody in this room has taken an action of some sort. So every time that you participate in a Team LiveStrong event, every time you sign a petition, every time you go and distribute resources for LiveStrong, every action like that strengthens the community and grows it. So if we can all continue to do that and then recruit and share our story with others, then we're going to have an amazing impact and truly change the world. I think the other thing I would add is that yesterday I was fortunate enough to get to participate and be involved in Texas Advocacy Day, and some of the folks in the room also did that with us. But it was amazing just getting back to that share your story as that first step of getting involved. We actually saw in the Texas State Capitol somebody for the first time share their story on the tribute wall that was set up in the rotunda of the Capitol. And it was really impactful to see that that's still a good first step for people. And some people still have not shared their story. So if we can all, encourage that as a very first action, there's just tremendous power in that. And it was really great to see that yesterday.
I think it's a constant challenge because, as Missy mentioned earlier, the brand has grown so quickly. And I think that we are constantly trying to figure out what additional opportunities are there for people to get engaged and involved. And so I think that's what Missy and her team spend a lot of time thinking about is how else can we give people that platform? Because look, for some people they call and they immediately want to do an event or raise money or become an advocate. And for a lot of people they call and they don't know what they want to do. And so figuring out how to give them choices and options is important.